Thank you so much for joining us on a brand new episode of 420 Grams, our Euro 2020 special. We're coming to you every day at 1 p.m. throughout the course of this tournament. And last night saw a number of teams sort of seeding their place in the knockouts. Austria beat Ukraine. Then there was the Dutch that beat Macedonia. Belgium beat Finland. And also, which was the fourth game? The fourth game saw, which was the fourth game, guys?
Denmark.
Denmark, yes, Denmark winning their final game. And so, yeah, you'd have to say the usual suspects making it out of the group, which is great for any neutral in a sense. But today we're not going to focus on those games because during the course of one of those games, North Macedonia or Macedonia, their biggest football player called time in his international career, a total of 122 caps that saw him score 38 goals. We're talking about Goran Pandev, who was such an integral part of that 2010 Champions League winning squad of Inter Milan under Jose Mourinho. And what a career it's been. And to talk about that, we have senior journalist Jaideep Basu, we have Bengaluru United coach Richard Hood, and also Siddhant Annie. And we'll also try drawing parallels with someone of our own, certain Sunil Chhetri, who at the age of 36, very recently, has signed a new contract with his club Bengaluru FC until 2023, which means once he sees out those 2 years, Sunil would have spent 10 years at the Bangalore-based club. More so if you look at Sunil's stats as well, 114 caps for India and 74 goals. So many parallels to draw in terms of the longevity of a top-class athlete. Jaideep sir, first just Pandev. And, the scenes you saw there, you saw the Dutch, commemorating him with a jersey. You saw the send-off he was given. Play was halted. Everyone came on and gave him a guard of honor. And, that's always a good thing to see because someone who's given so much to the country, to the football, and in terms of motivation, it's sometimes many of the things they're doing is not even tangible. The way you're kind of, the way you're sort of motivating youngsters to get into the sport. All of that is courtesy of big players like these.
Yeah, certainly. And at the same time, I think the role of the coach also has to be appreciated. Because at one point, there was a point of time, I believe, when he was a bit frustrated playing for the country and thought of and I think at one point of
he
time
had retired. Yeah,
he had retired. And
yeah.
when that coach came, when the new coach came, the man who is also resigned from the North Macedonian national team. Yesterday was his last match. I think he convinced him to come back into the team. And actually, as at the start you were talking about Sunil Chhetri, when it comes to an Indian context, it reminds me more of Baichung Bhutia. Because in 2005, he repeatedly said, and 2006 also he said, that I will not play for the India team anymore. At that time, India was doing very badly. They lost to Japan by 6 goals. And then Yemen to the 3-1, 3 goals to Yemen in Delhi and all. And Baichung was almost had already decided his mind that he won't play for India. But that was the time, if you remember, Arjun, that Bob Houghton came into
convinced
him to come back into the national team. And another 5 years of good football he played. That was also
unfortunate that he went off with that calf injury at the Asian Cup. You would have hoped that he started all those games.
Started on, but another 5 years from 6 to 2010, and he was one of the people responsible for taking India to the Asian Cup. So I run a parallel with that way. If you look, it reminds me of that incident. That's all.
Richard, since Sir brought up Baichung, a few days back, I think I was seeing an interview on Star Sports, which he had done with the national team while during the World Cup and Asian Cup qualifiers. And he said, I'm regularly talking to Baichung, good friends, of course, on and off the field. And Baichung gave him just one word of advice. Till the time you're feeling like you can play, don't even think about it. Don't even talk about it. The day you feel it's not happening, motivation or whatever it is, then give it some time. Don't just take a harsh decision. Give it some time. Because I was reading about Pandev as well, and his former coaches and players, they said there's 98%. There are 2 brackets of players. One is in the 98% who need to find something to motivate themselves. And the other 2%, which includes guys like Pandev, who don't need the motivation. Just to be on the field and to better themselves is enough.
So, I think in terms of what advice Baichung had given Sunil, 100% agree with that. If you're going to go onto the pitch with any element of doubt or lacking in motivation, then I mean that's no mentality to subject the other teammates to as well. So if you are, people know how old you are. People keep talking about it. I think that's a hot topic throughout. I mean, each time he steps onto the pitch, captain, leader, legend, the commentary, all of that is entirely driven towards
Thank you
his
for the
age
content,
first.
Sunil.
So I mean, it keeps coming at us. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the way he's managed his career as well, he hasn't really detracted from going and doing coaching licenses while he's still active. While a lot of his contemporaries did that. I mean, as their career was sort of getting over, they spent time on coaching courses, preparing for the next step. But for him, everything is about the here and now. I mean, like right from time he wakes up and goes to sleep, everything is oriented towards making sure that he is doing everything he can to stay on the pitch and with pride, as in nobody questions his contribution in a game. So I think, that 2%, Sunil definitely fits into that bracket without a doubt.
Ani bhai, it's like, I'm not trying to compare the two in terms of technicality, in terms of, what they provide on the pitch as a player. But I'm just saying, so you look at Pandev's story, he started from a country which is not amongst the poorest in Europe, not much footballing culture as well. And then, how he got noticed was he went to Italy to play a youth tournament. आपको याद है दिल्ली में एक क्लब होता था शिमला यंग्स. They used to send their boys to play Sweden में एक youth tournament खेलने भेजते थे. It's in these youth tournaments because the industry is such a big one. People are there. Their own interests are there to find a player and hope that player becomes successful. Our man was spotted by some Serie A scouts and then, of course, started his illustrious career in Italy. Sunil, in the same way, has come from Delhi, not a footballing hub. He got picked up by Chima Okeri, got a place into Mohan Bagan, and then from there started his trajectory as well.
Yeah, man. And over the years, I think he's grown so much, learned so much about... and very much the focus after coming to Bangalore has been so much on extending and making sure, like Richard was saying, that every time he takes his place on the pitch, whether it's for club or for the national team, that in fact, quite contrary to questioning his place, he's often the biggest contributor to whatever the team manages to do. And as having consistently, I mean, Bangalore, of course, last couple of seasons in domestic competition haven't been great. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But that's down to several factors, not limited to their owners' new interest in the IPL and stuff like that. So Sunil, and I was watching, in fact, this morning maybe an interview of Gurpreet where he was talking about how his career has gone and the challenges there. I think it was on our friend's Superpower Football.
Yeah. Did you see the meme he posted? I loved it.
No, I didn't.
He said contract negotiations for Chhetri bhai. So he posted a clip from Hera Fairy where Akshay Kumar is saying, हाँ sir, मेरे को चाहिए एक बंगला, एक airstrip, एक pool, साथ में lawn, साथ में एक club. So these are Sunil Chhetri's contract negotiations for Bengaluru. That's very nice.
So Gurpreet was also talking about how Sunil's level of training and dedication and commitment and all of these things are just on a different level here. And the difference between Baichung, because Jaideep sir brought him up, is that unfortunately in those last years, he was not able to give on the pitch as much as he could have. Yeah. You can see even that 20 odd minutes that he played at the Asian Cup in 2011, when he was on the pitch, thoda energy ka jo boost mila tha na team ko, wo kafi like palpable sa tha. You could feel it in the stands. And so that impact is undeniable. I think scoring that goal in their opening fixture, now I'm talking about Pandev, similar kind of fillip to everyone, man. Amazing stuff.
Richard, you've been associated with Bengaluru from the initial days, right? That time. So you were part of the setting up. And the grand plan to start was to sign the now Indian captain, Sunil Chhetri. He was considered their big marquee signing, when marquee signings were not in fashion in Indian football. So you've observed him from close quarters. And there was a very different phase of Sunil Chhetri's career. The foreign trips didn't work, right? So he came back. Then he spent a season at Churchill, won the I-League or something with them. And then he was looking for another club. So he was in transition as such to find a home. From close quarters, what all have you observed in this guy that sort of tells you the longevity with which he's continuing now in this game?
I think number one, BFC came in with a clear idea. Even before Ashley and things were confirmed, they had this Heel Institute where Shamal Vallabhji was there. So he brought in some ideas as far as sports science and things go. I don't know how much of it was taken on board holistically. Once Ashley came in, he had his own processes, his own people who came in. And a huge part of that was diet. And constantly, it's not just Sunil and things, but a lot of these guys would constantly comment, agar ye pehle aata to hum log kya nahi kar sakte the. Because I think that time he was around 27, 28 when he first came in. But if you're talking about seeing him up close, I don't think I missed a single session as long for the 3 years that I was there, along with Ashley and Pradyum on the pitch and things. I was there for, I mean, all the Bangalore-based sessions and things. And then you see that, I mean, guy who's giving it his extra bit, pushing others, because as long as Ashley was there, you had these speed circuits and stuff. You would get guys who would slow down before the finish line, guys who would take it easy. I mean, would sort of temper their involvement throughout the session and things. And he was 100% all the way through. A little bit in terms of the diet, but now you hear a lot about the vegan part of things, all the initiatives he's taken on that side. But that time, I think it was a bit more supplement intensive as well. He had just come in fresh from the MLS. I think few ideas from there. I think he traveled a bit. So I think one thing he's open to any idea to improve himself. As in, if that time that's the trend, if that's what works for him, he's never going to sort of hesitate if he realizes that this is the best step to maybe be better than the others or have an edge on any of the other guys. I don't think that sort of consideration has ever been closed.
Was there hesitation? Because when you talk about Ashley's time in Bengaluru, so up until then, Sunil Chhetri is the striker. He's the main man. Ashley Westwood comes in, drops him to the left, right? So was there a bit of a conflict there? Ki ye aap mujhe kya khila rahe ho? Why are you playing me out of position?
There was, I think, even there was a bit of conflict. I think it's well covered in Sports Illustrated as well. When Ashley left him on the bench in that first game against Mohan Bagan and started Malam instead. But I think eventually Chhetri was the highest Indian scorer in the league that season, playing in that position, the championship winning season. So I think, again, I think there will be conflicts because obviously you get treated like any other player, which was one good thing that BFC did. I mean, regardless of what the past was and things, everybody was treated equally. You had to earn your place right till the end. So in terms of leveling players' reputation on the training ground on match day, that was a big thing. So I think more or less within time, it's sort of settled. Like if he has to survive, he has to play on the left-hand side of Sean Rooney. I think Beko was on the right. And Sunil scored. I mean, I think he outscored Sean Rooney in that season. I think high scorer for BFC as well. And it worked because I think people, if you have 8 years of, let's say, footage and understanding of where he plays, and now he's reinvented himself, coming in late into the box, second post, Beko providing all those assists and things. So I think his technique, I mean, that's the versatility. I mean, physically as well as technically, you can sort of use him around. And obviously that was 8 years ago. So he fresh off, I don't know if it was US or...
Did you at that time imagine 8 years back that this boy would still be cracking it? I'm not saying would he still be playing, but he's still cracking it. He's still the number one name on that team sheet when India puts out a team sheet.
He's obsessed. I mean, from whatever we've seen, apart from football, personal interactions haven't been that much. I think there's good hi hello sort of thing happening, but you can tell like this guy is 100% locked into. He's not going to let anybody take his place in the team, number one. He's not going to let anybody question his contribution. All of those factors. I mean, it's so driven by just getting over there. I don't think even the doubt came in. Matlab, 8 saal aage kya hoga? Usually on the coaching side, we don't think about a week in advance at best in terms of what players are going to be there or not. But if you're talking about just reflecting back that mentality and stuff, just that drive and things, those are clear. I mean, and none of the young players come anywhere close to that. Just that mentality that you're talking about, it's very rare. I mean, it's high performance mentality.
Jaideep sir, Pandev to get him out of retirement, his then coach and who's retired, who's of course resigned as the North Macedonian coach, went down to Serie A, had a face-to-face conversation. He said, "ये conversation जो होता है इतने बड़े खिलाड़ी के साथ phone पे नहीं होता, ये face-to-face होता है." Convinced him, and how he got him on was saying that we are starting a qualification process, and I see us getting into Euro 2020. And the route they said was Nations League. Nations League में अपना group जीतो, get into a playoff, do 2 playoff matches, and through that playoff match was Kosovo, right? That Pandev scored the winning goal. That North Macedonia found themselves in Euro 2020. Likewise for Sunil, whenever you speak to him, Asian Cup 2023.
Yes, you're right.
And that is what is going to keep him going till then at least.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I think that is definitely, there is a absolute similarity between the two players. Say like all the without those 2 goals in the in the qualifiers, North Macedonia wouldn't have come to the final round.
Yeah.
And without 2 goals against Myanmar and Kyrgyzstan, India wouldn't have gone to the 2019 final round.
और आप चखते नहीं वो खून एशियन कप का.
Without that hat-trick against Tajikistan in the AFC Challenge, that hat-trick against AFC Challenge Cup final 2009, India wouldn't have gone to 2011. But these days, I think it's a great credit for Sunil, definitely. What I have seen of Sunil, there are 2 things I would like to say. First of all, nowadays players are lucky because the medical system is far better these days. There were players with same motivation previously also. I know them personally, but they couldn't carry on for so many years because once they are injured for something of this small, it really finished off their careers. So that is one thing. And secondly, I think Sunil's, since you and Richard were discussing about it, how this change came. In my opinion, his change came after the Tour of Portugal.
After the what? Sorry.
After the Portugal stint. Sporting stint. The Sunil Chhetri who came back from Portugal was a completely different man. And this was told to me by none other than Subhash Bhomik, who was the Churchill coach when Churchill became champion and Sunil was there. He says there was so much professionalism is something which all of us knew what professionalism is all about. But Sunil seems to have suddenly realized what it means. So he's discarded all his habits, whatever habits say. He will never have food in odd time. He will follow discipline. This is completely different. Even so, I think the Portugal stint where he wasn't very successful. He didn't play there for a long time or whatever. But he learned something which has served him till date. This much I can say.
Ani bhai, when you talk about Sunil, 2023, now Richard mentioned a very nice thing in one of our previous shows, that because I would also say कि मतलब ठीक है, हम कहते हैं कि top player है, but I have seen moments on TV when he's playing for the national team over the last year or so, where he's feeling a little slower than what he used to be in terms of not just contribution, in terms of matching the pace of the game, right? So वो trajectory भी naturally आएगा. You can't deny that, right? That will come one day or the other. But he mentioned a very nice thing in one of our post shows where he said the Indian season and the ad hoc Indian season that it is, with the lesser number of games that we're playing, that will aid in extending the international career of Sunil Pandev.
You couldn't resist, na?
Kennedy Singh had given us this name. Hum kyun resist?
Yeah, Richard is, I suppose, probably the most knowledgeable among us to comment on this subject in terms of what the right balance is between game time and sort of staying on the train rather than having to jump off, jump back on. So what the balance is between how many number of games or how many minutes you're playing and what kind of wear and tear that results in on your body versus having a short season and then being able to play those extra 5 games, 7 games, jo bhi hai us saal mein. I would assume on the face of it, it makes sense, 36, 37-year-old, but then you see the currently active 36, 37-year-olds, the Ronaldos and the Messis, they are playing 50 games, 60 games a season.
But they've been doing it regularly for so long now.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Like muscle memory kind of thing.
The level of, but what we're saying is that, that's the only part that Sunil doesn't have, right? Apart from that, he's doing everything that is in his power to look after his body at the same level.
So, if what you're talking about, like with age, things like timing, decision-making, technique, vision, and predictions, they start to amplify. Because you spend that much time on the ground. Once you step in, everything looks a lot more familiar. You recognize the pictures. And with age, also acceleration, pace, endurance, chances of injury, and then pure power, those reduce. Likh ke rakha hai to, I was just trying to understand the whole dynamic. But like you see Pandev yesterday, that one-touch flick that he made for that goal that was eventually judged.
Made all the
offside.
difference, bhai. Made all the difference.
It was just a question of 1-2 touches. And same thing is going to happen with Sunil. Like he cannot fight aging on this front. So other bit is maybe reinventing himself and then relying on all these things. And it's only the technical players that survive now.
Yeah,
मतलब
absolutely.
एज में आ जाते
Sir,
हो.
one good question. See, Pandev and Macedonia play a different brand of football. The gap between those nations probably not as big as when India plays Asian countries also, top level Asian countries who you aim to play and who you will be playing because you're playing in these top level tournaments. Can you afford for Sunil to change his game, or can you afford to sort of then bring about a different role for Sunil, keeping in mind that आपने तो वो वाली फुटबॉल खेलनी है कि जी हम 3/4 पे बैठेंगे और फिर भगाओ घोड़े उसके बाद.
I mean, sorry, who are you asking?
Whoever you ask,
Okay.
anyone can go. I was going to say, not only do you have to, I mean, you have to shape it around that change, man. I think.
So you build it around Sunil is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm asking.
100%.
Yeah,
At least up to 2023, like you said, because now we know that he's planning to play professional football for at least 2 more years with his club side.
Yeah.
He has great facilities, great coaching, great. I think again Richard knows more than I do, but lots of support. So definitely build your team around him.
Also, BFC going down to their Institute of Sports Excellence in Bellarine now. You have some top sports scientists over there, the nutritionist. I mean, the whole machinery that he can take advantage of now. It will be better than what has been extended to him over the last 8 years, because now, agar fir se bubble mein jayenge, they will have their preseason in Bellarine. So all those things are there for him to take advantage of. And pretty much this whole longevity bit also, I mean, like Siddhant was saying, there are tons of players now who are playing at that age. And it's just more about what you're monitoring. So now these guys, it's not about changing how they train and stuff, but everything is data driven. It's no longer emotion driven. So if you don't get enough sleep, your nutrition and all of that, these things have amped up a lot across the board, across all sports and things. So, and this will become mainstream. So we will see a whole bunch of people playing into their 40s like they were whatever in their early 30s or late 20s.
Outfield players? You're saying outfield players going into the 40s?
Because now if you look at Thiago Silva captaining Brazil at Copa America, he's older than Sunil. Giorgio Chiellini captaining Italy at the Euros. He's playing. And the guys who have no longer serving the team in such a crucial role. So Mascherano is still playing in Argentina. Then you have Robin playing at Groningen. Iniesta playing in Japan. Tevez playing at Boca Juniors. Torres playing at... in Japan as well. And then the whole bunch of guys who are older than Sunil who are still active. So guys like Pepe, Dani Alves, Frank Ribery, Ricardo Quaresma, who are playing 30, 40 games a season at whatever level. But this science is now going to spread all across. And people can't expect the same will happen to them, because this is a process of what has happened to Sunil for last 8 years. The change in diet, the change in lifestyle. Obviously, what Jaideep sir said about Portugal, you read his interviews, him constantly talking about 16, 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 10-year-olds, getting that sort of attention, knowing what to eat, knowing how much to sleep. So that is where he said he missed out. He said, I should have gone there when I was much younger, when he spoke about his Portugal experience. So this will become a normality with the guys who are 25, 26 now. So all apne jo Suresh, Sana, all these guys, we will see them play a lot longer than the previous guys in their positions, just because of all the changes that have come across most of the clubs.
If they keep, also just quickly add on, it's the science applies to across sports or disciplines. Yeah, you look at the NBA, for example, some of the top players in the NBA today, they are probably mid-30s and older. Of course, they are young players, but
the
all
personal
of those
trainers get paid $2 million a year.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's become such an industry to have longevity, because you're a brand now. So even the
franchises,
hame
personal trainer कहते हैं 5,000 a month.
Richard, that is fine.
And like
But
guys are saying undercut karenge usko.
Jaideep sir, Pandev has already gone down as Macedonia's biggest ever player, right? Greatest ever. I think that's the word. Is Sunil already the greatest ever, or once he does 2023 Asian Cup and decides whenever to hang his boots, does he go down as India's greatest ever?
So greatest ever is a very it's a word to be used very. I think you can't use it
lightly. I get your point.
Lightly, and Indian football all over the. In the last 70 years, it has not reached a level where this greatest and all these awards can be used so frequently. He will definitely go down as one of India's finest strikers, if not the finest striker in India.
But not player. I'm saying player. You're saying striker. You're segregating it to a position.
Yeah. Greatest players. I would not like to. He may be one of them. Maybe if you take 5, he will be one of them. But I will not take him to a. I have seen players who have not in terms of achievement. We were talking about, like Richard was talking about how the players at 37, 38, 40, 41 are playing for Italy. Had a captain you remember that World Cup Italy says Dinosaur was how old? He was 40, I think, when he captained Italy to the World Cup, 82 World Cup, I think. But we have seen players who have no such medical facility, no such things as modern medicine. But because out of their sheer determination, their ability to focus. I will name one player, Inder Singh. He played up to age of 40. He had nothing. He didn't even went under proper coaching at one point when people are supposed to go. But he played good football at the age of 40. So it is not always, medicine and all these things and these facilities also make a good player. But the player has to learn what he wants to.
Adapting to the times.
If his focus is different, if he cannot focus himself, then however good facilities you give him, he won't be able to flourish. Sunil is different because his focus is different. His mentality is different. His concentration is different. That's why he is different from others. But coming back to your point, whether he will go down as India's greatest footballer, I will not like to commit myself. That's all I can say.
2 साल बाद commit कर पाएंगे.
If he wins us a game or two at the group stages in the 2023 Asian Cup, who's to argue against it?
No, see,
comparing players across generations is always very challenging and like there's no clear answer to it. And I guess that's one of the reasons also why these debates are so popular, because everyone will have a different player and say they are the finest. And we will all respectfully disagree and maintain that disagreement forever and always. Yeah. Anything more on Sunil that we...
Fair point. Yeah, we can move on. I think we've done enough on Sunil. Let's move on to our final segment of the day. We're talking about some of the lesser known teams in the Euros. And even though they might not have progressed from the group stages, just going to get a view in on what we thought of the lesser known nations at Euro 2020. हाँ जी यानी भाई, आप कौन सी आपको एक टीम बड़ी पसंद आई, छोटी वाली? मेरे को तो मैसेडोनिया बहुत पसंद आई. For a team that was ranked 162 a while back, now has come down to 90 or less.
Mid-80s or something.
Mid-80s or something.
Yeah.
And rankings aside, because I think all 4 of us would agree that rankings don't really tell you the clear picture. Some of the football they were playing, I wouldn't be right in saying that they gave the Dutch a run for their money. But in that 15-minute spell, that 20-minute spell, उन्होंने उनको हिला दिया था भाई. And अगर वो गोल हो जाता ना उनका, because I felt it was so harsh, guys, कि इतने पे आपने offside दिया. If that goal would have gone in, the confidence would have gone up, the shoulders would have stopped drooping, and could have had a different story then.
Yeah, I don't think in these games it's about giving the big team, run for the money or whatever. Those kind of upsets happen once in many, many games and stuff like that. And in a big competition, it's even harder, I guess. What it's all about is giving exactly those 15-20 minutes to your fans, to people who have backed you through, the hard days, the days when there's like no reason to be watching that kind of football at all.
As a Macedonian, I would be so happy with the kind of football that was played.
Yeah. I no negatives on that. And of course, well aided by the gentleman we were talking about yesterday, Mr. Michel Platini, to bring them onto the stage. And, this is the best kind of advertisement for changing the format of a tournament also. Mostly because लोग criticize करते हैं, यार हम फालतू टीम के साथ क्यों खेलें? जो जैसे क्रिकेट में पिछले वर्ल्ड कप में लॉजिक था. तो दिखा दिया इन्होंने कि this is why खेलना चाहिए, ताकि और कुछ हो ना हो. You get to see and experience a different style of play, meet some new fans at the very least. It's a new culture that's being explored, and that's what big tournaments are all about.
Richard, any lesser known nation that's caught your eye in the Euros this year?
No, I think with Macedonia, I'll give a contrary view because whatever we spoke about the 20-30 minute bit, they were a very easy team to solve as well.
Yeah.
मतलब this whole justification, मतलब वो half time पे अंदर चले गए. They said let's not let them capitalize on counter attacks anymore. They came out, they stuck to their plans, were a bit more clinical, and then second half बहुत अलग था मतलब from the.
But then the Dutch also changed to 4-3-3. I think that suited the Dutch 4-3-3 a lot.
Well, they could have more players on the wide areas, so that totally cut off any sort of advantage these guys had during the counter attacks. Lekin I mean, apart from these guys, maybe something Denmark को underdogs या ये नहीं बोल सकते lack of failures because they went from bottom of the table to finishing second in the group. But Europe, it's a very different scenario from Asia. मतलब वहाँ पे top 24 teams, and if you're talking about Asia top 24 teams, like the drop off from let's say 14 to 24, those 10 teams, India और Asia और Europe में बहुत फर्क दिखने वाला है. मतलब it's not.
So you're saying Bangladesh is not a top team?
बांग्लादेश टॉप 24 में आएगा तो तब बात करेंगे.
ठीक है.
लेकिन वही है ना, मतलब if इंडिया या कौन था हम लोग के साथ ये 24 में, who else qualified ये 2019
श्रीलंका is qualified sir with 0 points.
नहीं ये बोल रहा हूँ 2019 का.
2019 for the Asian Cup.
Yeah, guys who are in and around our rankings.
So there were good teams. Vietnam was there. Thailand was there.
Thailand
finished one above us, na?
Yeah. Thailand finished one above. And
so that पता नहीं मतलब just that 24 dynamic. I think top 24 in Europe would give top 5 in Asia a big challenge. मतलब the bottom team 20 to 24 and team 1 to 5 would give us a much bigger challenge.
So that was also my question to you guys. Ki, what sort of challenge or how? So if you look at teams like Qatar, Iran, Japan, Iraq, and Vietnam,
cream of the crop, Asia.
Yeah, Syria this season who are doing quite well in the qualifying process. How do you see the levels comparing between them and some of these European, Ukraine, for example? Maybe they had a terrible game yesterday, but in general, I'm saying.
I think by and large, you rely heavily on an upset taking place. So upset is when the underdog performs out of their skin and when the favorite performs way below par. That's the dynamic of an upset. So iske liye, like what happened between Japan and Belgium when these two guys in the World Cup, quarterfinal, usme to progress. I mean, they just put on these two guys who were watching from the bench. They knew exactly what was needed, hit them with pace, and solve the problem. So, wo hisab se, I think there's a big gap. I mean, when this topic came up, I was just comparing where are the Japanese playing, where are the Irani, Australians, and Qataris and Syrians.
Sure, I think your battery is.
Your battery is gone. I think your battery is from Europe. It's come to Asia, and sort of level gir gaya hai. Jaydeep sir, you want to pick up, if you, I think it's an interesting conversation. Cream of the crop Asia and say probably not lower rung, but middle rung Europe. How would the two compare?
See, as usual, I will keep the Europeans far much higher because not because of anything else, not because of the result, not because of the way they play or skills or technique or 4-2-4. The basics are far better than the Asians. Even the smallest team in Asia, Europe, I have seen they are shooting, they are heading, they are passing. Everything is correct. The number of miss passes they play. Yesterday, Macedonia played. I think one match. I think the Austria match. There was for 2 minutes there was some miss passing, and the commentator was so upset. He was saying that so many miss passes.
उनको किसी को बोलना चाहिए था आइए जरा घर आइए हमारे
देखा तो वो चीज अगर आप यूरोप का मिडिल लेवल टीम एशिया का मिडिल लेवल टीम करते हैं तो वी विल से ये तो चलता है यार ऐसे क्या इतना क्या सारा क्या ठीक देना पड़ेगा ये कहाँ लिखा हुआ है except Japan and Korea बाकी even actually even Iran and Iraq two of the I think most spectacular team in Asia. Even I would dare say even their basics are not as fine as it is of the even middle level teams in the world. Though in other way, Iran and Iraq are very fine teams. At least I personally love watching them play. But they have gone. The European teams have gone a notch higher. So if you pick up 24 teams in Europe for a championship, it's still matters to a time. But when you pick up 24th in Asia, which will happen in 23, I am not sure.
Sir, are you saying that Iran and North Macedonia will be a tough game for Iran?
Could be. It will be a tough game because
also you need to realize North Macedonia, at least the core of that team, are all playing top level leagues in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, so in 2018 we saw Spain versus Iran at the World Cup, right? It was Spain are not. I suppose Spain are among the best teams, strongest teams anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Macedonia का इतना भी high pace नहीं है, वो अगल-बगल में खेलते हैं. Lot of guys in Cyprus, lot of guys. So Macedonia compared to Turkey even is far behind in terms of where the players are placed.
Turkey was a letdown.
But a country which was in 2016 162 in the ranking has come up to 62. It has not come out of.
But geographical proximity का भी होता है, sir. I mean,
if we think about it from the ranking perspective, then Iran have never been in that kind of zone. They've always probably been, as long as they've been playing FIFA ranked football, they've probably been in the top 50 in the world.
Of course, always. But what I mean to say, I'm not taking out Iran or Iraq. What I mean to say, even the top Asian teams.
Yeah. It won't be a cakewalk for them. It won't be.
Will not find it easy playing even the middle level European teams. That's what I mean to say. They may win in the end.
It all boils down. It all boils down to Mr. Hood. He knows exactly what we're saying.
It's not UAE versus India. That much I can.
नहीं सर बात तो घुमा फिरा के ये आती है ना रिचर्ड की बचपन से the stress is on basics. बचपन the stress is on